What is up, fellow nerds, and welcome to Not Your Status Quo. Today, another edition of What's Next, this time for the Bad Batch. We are 6 episodes into the Bad Batch. We got 10 remaining. A lot has happened, but a lot hasn't happened. But well, I think two of the major things out of today's episode was Wrecker's chip basically being activated after he smacked his head on that thing.
And the mystery cameo.
Who was it?
Mephisto.
It was definitely Mephisto.
And it wasn't... We're not talking about Rafa and her sister either. We're talking about the end of the show. Who was that?
Absolutely.
And because when I saw Rafa and the Martinez sisters, I just thought, oh man, I'm checking out. Mentally, I checked out because I just didn't like them the first time around.
Oh, but their story arc was just so exciting when they did a thing and got caught and then escaped and then immediately got caught again.
Yeah, and somehow they didn't get killed by these beings that just kill anyone who crosses them. But they made it out, and they were made to slip into this episode to lead you to the next, the person that we're talking about with a cameo at the end. And I thought it was, originally I thought it was Ahsoka, but these guys talked me out of it. Why?
Because they say at the end, they're referring to it as a male. They're saying him or sir or whatever. They're basically, implying that this is a dude.
Patch him through, R7. We acquired the tactical droid data from...
That's the only reason why I would say that they probably weren't talking to her directly. It could have been somebody related to her, somebody that knew her, though. So I wouldn't discount that completely.
See, I think it might be Bail Organa. We know he was one of the initial people who started the rebellion. He would definitely have ties to Ahsoka. Maybe not at this point, but he should. We know he does at some point, because she was Fulcrum and Rebels, part of all of that. But it does, we were talking earlier, we do think Ahsoka or another Jedi has to show up, at least to Ord Martell, because Omega wouldn't shut up. So they know exactly where the Bad Batch really are located right now. I thought it was funny. I expected Hunter or someone to be like, hey,
kid.
Seriously, enough,
Operation Security, man.
But maybe they're too new at this, the whole mercenary thing. They're not used to being secretive about stuff like that. So
they're used to getting orders, go in there, sweep it out, because they never had to deal with the delicate parts. They would just go in, blow everything up, and get out and get what they needed.
Even this whole accepting, these quests, basically, in order to make ends meet, they've never had to do that before either.
Yep, it's all new to them, so I think they'll learn from this. But we all do think a Jedi is going to show up because they're probably recruiting people for the rebellion, especially clones. They know we're not under Order 66, but Wrecker is. So if a Jedi does show up, that may be how the rest of the Bad Batch figure out, hey, his chip is on. And the way I see it happening is they're going to see his chip's on, they're going to stop him. If it is Ahsoka, she's already went through this with Rex, so she'll have some experience to help Tech and probably Echo handle it. And then once they get Wrecker fixed, we don't leave anyone behind, so they're going to be heading to Kamino to get Crosshair back. And I hope we see that.
That'd be great. Get everybody back together.
And then when Omega goes back there, what kind of trouble is she going to run into? Because the Kaminoans want her back. And then they got, we assume that they're the ones who'd sent Fennec. And if they just kind of show up in Kamino with her and they don't need to pay any bounty hunter, bonus for them, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I guess. Unless it's the Emperor.
I don't know, man. I don't think that's going to happen.
Yeah, well, the Emperor does seem to know everything that's always going on.
True.
So could he have a knowledge of Omega? Because it was still at this point, Darth Sidious and the Emperor were two different people. So what everybody thought. So maybe Darth Sidious commissioned this new clone super trooper or whatever it's going to be, and he knows about it. He sent Fennec Shand. But I still think it's Kamino that sent Fennec because it was a direct commission. They're trying to keep it quiet because they don't want people to know their next line of clones, the prototype, is out there.
So the reason why I was a little bit curious about that, so I think you might be right, but at the same time, weren't they the ones who were telling Omega to go with the Bad Batch? Like, it seemed almost like not the not the Prime Minister, but that one science officer was kind of like, almost like, hey, you should go with them, or something like that. If I remember right in the first episode, maybe I'm misremembering.
I'm going to need to go back and watch that.
Yeah.
I don't think they told her to leave Kamino with them, or hang out with them, possibly.
Okay, yeah, I might be confusing that.
But I still thought for the longest time that her little necklace, or not really necklace, but her headpiece that she had, forehead charm, yes, was a way to track her. And since she's taken it off, maybe they can't track her anymore. So they really need to find her. And, you know, hiring a up and coming bounty hunter that they know is going to keep it quiet, it's a great way to do it. And once again, if it was a direct commission, Fennec Shand obviously has ties to Kamino. We've seen Kamino in The Mandalorian with Dr. Pershing. Is this going to bring in the Book of Boba Fett some, you know, of these prototype clones? Maybe Boba Fett and Fennec know about him. They're going to get them because obviously they're going to need muscle to, you know, run this crime syndicate. We may see something being interwoven between the Bad Batch, Clone Wars, Mandalorian, the Book of Boba Fett already, and we're not even realizing it yet.
I wonder if they're also going to be using the show to explain, you know, you brought up Dr.
Pershing?
Yeah, you brought up Dr. Pershing. I wonder if they're going to use the show to explain when, you know, humanoid being started working on Kamino within the cloning, because at the moment, right now, whenever we go to Kamino, we only see the Kaminoans? How do you...
Kaminoans.
Kaminoans, that's it, thank you.
No
yes, yeah. So we only ever see their species, you know, operating it and being the expert cloner. So I do wonder when he started working there and, you know, got the uniform and learned how to clone.
That's a good idea. I still think this may show up in the Obi-Wan series too. Maybe we're going to see a little bit of, you know, Kamino and clones in the Obi-Wan series and learn a little bit more. But I do have a gut feeling at the end of the Bad Batch first season, when they go back to get Crosshair, it's going to turn into a huge battle. And those labs on Kamino that we're so used to seeing are going to be destroyed.
Oh, absolutely.
And that's why we see Dr. Pershing working in the, you know, in the Outer Rim, you know, trying to get Grogu's blood or midichlorians or whatever it is he was trying to get out of it, because they no longer have that central base, but they still have the knowledge. So they have sort of remote areas where they're working on this.
Absolutely.
Another thing I liked about Omega, the way they're developing her, and we were talking about this earlier off camera, that you know, she's not a Mary Sue. You know, she's actually, you know, with that bow when she was taking shooting practice at the beginning of the episode. You know, she missed. She kept missing. She hit 3 in a row, she said, and then Echo said, yeah, well, that was out of 12.
She also had hecklers, too.
Yeah, and they're all telling her to fail, and she was failing. So she's learning, you know, by the end of the show, she was, you know, hitting things. But she is learning. That's how people bond to these characters.
So maybe she locked into the Force, and it helped guide the arrow.
I think that's the way it is with everything. The Force binds us all together.
This is the way.
This is the way.
This is the way.
Now, we did see in that scene with the bow and arrow, Sid, who I find, first off, Rhea Perlman is a freaking national treasure. I love her. I'm glad she's doing the voice for Sid. But Sid has kind of threatened the Bad Batch a few times with, hey, work for me or I'm going to let you know. There's going to become a point.
Yeah, I was getting some real blackmail vibes from her.
I'm really thinking once the Rebels or whoever is going to show up that the Martinez, Dave's favorite, the Martinez sisters sent, if they start working a little bit for them and there's all of a sudden a bounty on their heads, Sid may see that price tag and turn them in no problem. So she could be a potential problem down the line for the Bad Batch, and I think she's definitely going to be, because as they get more and more, I think the whole, here, you take the robot's brain, you're going to do more good with it, shows that they're more on, you know, aligned with the rebellion as opposed to the Empire. And I think that's going to play out. Sid doesn't pick sides. She just wants to make money. And if they're hurting her money-making capability by doing things for the rebellion, she'll turn them in, no problem.
Well, one thing that I'd like to, you know, kind of talk about. So we said that it might be Bail Organa that appeared at the end that the Martinez sisters could be working with, and that is one potential theory. But I think there could be, because at this moment the Empire is just getting started. People are still getting their chain codes, and they're seeing stormtroopers marching down the street and like learning of that the war is over. It's basically just happened. So I feel like it's a little too early for the rebellion that we know to have already started. So I think this might actually be a few other maybe starts of rebel forces, but I don't think it's going to be Bail Organa quite yet. I mean, I know he was one of the senators working with Padme and a few of the others that were talking about trying to remove power from Sheev Palpatine when they were noticing that he had too much power. But I don't think they're full on rebellion yet. At the moment, they're still senators. He hasn't gotten rid of the Senate yet.
Well, I can guarantee you that that's not Padme.
I can guarantee that as well. But no, I think it might be possibly Saw Gerrera, or we could go real dark, and we could say that they're not actually helping any sort of rebel alliance. Maybe they're working with one of, the local crime syndicates.
Yeah, they definitely could be.
That'd be a big build-up.
They're already acquainted with the Pikes. That was the last time we saw them.
Does the Pikes still have something on them? Like they're gonna kill them unless they tell them?
Could be.
Because I can't see them ever speaking to the Pikes without dying. After what happened.
I didn't think about it, but when they said we use this to fight the Empire,
yeah,
it didn't necessarily be the rebellion. It could just be a crime syndicate that they're getting cracked down on.
It's Grief Karga
theory.
Oh, it could be. It could be. Who knows?
That's what we think is coming next for the Bad Batch. But what do you guys think? Let us know in the comments below, and we'll see you next time on Not Your Status Quo.